What's going on, guys? It's Steven here from Digital Renovations. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit the little bell icon and run a lap around the room if you want to help me out and stay up to date with the latest videos here at Digital Renovations. Today we're going to take a look at the Postman Collection Runner and how it can be used to automate the running of multiple API calls. We'll cover off what a collection is, how to go about creating one, how to automate running one with the runner, and then how to view the run reports. Let's start off with a little bit of detail on what a collection is. So, the simplest description of what a collection is just a grouping of API requests. It doesn't really matter what the request type, endpoint, or even the API are. You could use them to group certain functions, workflows, test types, or whatever you need really. You can even have subfolders within them. We're going to be taking a look at how you can automate running these today. Commonly, you'd see this used for testing APIs. Let's have a look at how we can create one now. So once you've got Postman open up, have a look over here and make sure you've got collections selected on the left-hand side of screen. Now you have a fairly large and obvious button down here for how you can create a collection. We're going to skip the obvious and click up the top here. The reason being is that once we've got our first collection set up, this giant collection button here is going to disappear for us, so it's important to learn the right way of doing it. I'm going to click New, Collection, and here we have our new collection. So we're going to call this User Details. Now from here you can add descriptions, documentations, a heap of different stuff. We're going to move on to adding our first request. So we'll click over here, Add Request. We'll give our request a name of Get User List. It's going to need an endpoint. So we'll add in our endpoint over here. And now we're going to add in a test. So we'll jump into the scripts, look at post response, and we're going to use one of these handy pre-made snippets here. If I can click on the thing. We're going to use the test to make sure the status code is set to 200. Now we'll hit send, and boom, we've got our list of users. Now let's get a bit crazy. Let's grab part of that response and set it as a variable for the collection. So in here in our test scripts, we're going to let response equal pm.response.json. We're going to let user ID equal response data. We can see data is an array down here. So we're going to just set it to the first item in the array and grab the ID value from that. Now down here we're going to say Postman collection variables. We're going to set a variable called user to be our user ID variable that we've just created. Perfect. Alright, now let's add a second request, and this time we're going to grab an individual user referencing this value that we've just created here. So come over here, we're going to duplicate our first request. Duplicate. We're going to name this one Get User Details. Hit enter. And we're going to update our endpoint. Instead of looking at the first page of the list of users, we're going to specifically call out our user variable that we've just created. Now we'll go into our test scripts. We're going to leave the status code 200 test, but we can get rid of these lines here. Click save on that one. Now if we run this, we're probably just going to get an error. Yep, there we go. We've got a 404 response. That's because if we look down here in the console, that user variable is not actually set yet. But if we run this using the runner, we'll get some magic happening. Let's click up here, and we'll get a run collection. We have a few options here about how we want to run our calls. We're just going to go manual for now, but you can also schedule them or even configure CLI commands so that you can add this directly into your build pipeline when you're releasing new features. We're going to have this run through one iteration with no delay, and we're going to persist the outputs for the session so we can see what the responses are. Now we'll click run. Fantastic. So we can see that both of these have now received a 200 response, both passing. We can see that down here in our console, we've successfully used the user variable, set the ID as 1. We can click in here and we can see that George Bluth was our user number 1 from our array. You can confirm that by clicking in here. And George Bluth was our first user in the list. That's it for today, guys. If you've got any questions, drop them in a comment below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you found this helpful and want more content like this. Until next time, have a good one.